Welcome to your last and final week of curriculum instruction and assessment. So we're going to put it all together this week. So our agenda is we're going to review backwards design, formative and summative assessments, direct and indirect instruction, our lesson plan format for direct instruction, and then some of my personal resources that I like to use for teaching. So first, when thinking about backwards design, we want to first look at the standards, and we want to basically Google North Carolina standards and then find whatever grade, subject, all of that we're looking at. Then we need to go to the unpacking document. So again, we're going to Google that, and 9 times out of 10, the unpacking document has those standards. Then you're going to break down that standard into, do I need to add in another standard, or do I need to break up this standard so that I can create my assessment? Then I'm going to create my assessment. For my summative assessments, those are normally from the district or from the grade level or across teachers. Usually you're not the only one creating those summative assessments. Now, formative ones, those are just quick, easy, just random while you're teaching. So this is your summative assessment that you are creating. All right. So we just touched on those different types of assessments, but remember, formative are those quick, easy ones that you can use to guide your instruction. So oftentimes I would use formative literally every day, whether that was an online little quizzes, Kahoot, Gimkit, or it was an exit ticket, or just walking around and monitoring their conversations if they're doing something during an indirect instruction. Then summatives occur during the conclusion of the instruction, and the main goal is to see that growth and progress and proficiency of those students. So summative is much more formal, while formative is those quick ones to see if your teaching is effective or not, so you can make those adjustments. Now, just a reminder, we focused a lot more on direct instruction, so that's more teacher-centered, and you are doing majority of the talking, so emphasis, clear communication, structured lessons, and measurable learning objectives or outcomes. How we would structure this would be, you have your hook, then I do, meaning the teacher does some examples, we do, meaning we do them together, and then you do. So the students would do them independently to check that proficiency, and then closure, so wrapping it all up. As you can see, some of the benefits is basic skill instruction, complex cognitive concepts. You can't really use indirect with learning a whole lot of different math concepts. I'm trying to think of an example, like Pythagorean theorem. You can't really do that inquiry based with that. And then it's very helpful for students with learning disabilities or students that are English language learners. Now, indirect, which is my personal favorite, but not always the best, depending on what concept you're teaching. So that's more of the cognitive process of using what they already know and kind of jumping off of that to leap into your instruction. So you have cooperative groups, you have inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning skills and scenarios. Huge benefits are they're just more real-world concepts that you're able to intertwine with the concepts that you're teaching. So enhancing student engagement, motivation, retention, and you're able to promote and develop deeper understanding of those concepts by using those higher order thinking skills. Next, we're going to look at this lesson plan format. Again, this is what you use for your project. It's the same thing. This should be used throughout all of your instruction, especially as you're planning and going into the classroom. Now, as you move up and get more experience, you will not have to fill out a lesson plan format for every single lesson. That's just unrealistic. But while you're still learning, yes, because once you have that experience, you're able to mentally do these things. Even when I'm planning a lesson and I'm not filling this out, this is what I'm kind of jotting down in my head to make sure. So this is kind of the first part where you're just organizing your thoughts. So you have your subject, your unit, your materials that you need. That way, whenever you're referencing it the next year or another time, you're not having to search through your whole entire lesson to see what materials you might need. Standard should be taken straight from the North Carolina standards. And I would put the numbers and letters at the very beginning. It just makes it easier to Google. Then you have your I can or students will be able to academic vocabulary, which you can take from the unpacking document. And then what is your assessment? So all of this is kind of the backwards planning. Then you get into the hook. How are you going to engage them? Then I do, we do, you do, and then the closure. Now for the fun part. These are kind of my resources that I use whenever I'm teaching. If there is a standard that I've never taught before, I'm first going to Google that standard. And then I'm going to go to images and think about, okay, maybe I could use this and kind of piece different things together. It just sparks my creative side of how am I going to teach this? Because I don't like to teach just straight from a worksheet or anything like that. That's not engaging for students, and they're not going to remember it or retain that information. So I Google these things. I'll give you examples. Then Magic School. In my in-person, we've talked about Magic School. This is an AI version of ChatGPT, but it's specifically for teachers. So you're able to select different tools and use them to create kind of your lessons or parts of your lesson. And then Teachers Pay Teachers. I would make an account and you can find different resources. I normally piece together resources from all of these just because they don't match your students or what your students specifically need. So if I were to look up ratio for 6th grade, they have all these different worksheets. Well, if you did a worksheet every day, that is boring. But you can take snippets of it and make it a little bit more engaging or have them act out different things. But this kind of sparks what you could do. Then Magic School, they have a whole bunch of different tools. Again, these are resources. This should not be your end-all be-all lesson. These should be used to kind of foster that creativity when creating your lessons. But there's a whole bunch more. If I couldn't scroll down on this, but you can see once you make an account. And make sure that you make it that you are the teacher, not the student. And then Teachers Pay Teachers. Literally, you can just search any topic or standard and they'll have some. But just know that from state to state, the standards are different. So I usually put in like key vocabulary that I might be using and then kind of piece it together. Now, I have seen where many teachers just print off worksheets from here. But think about, is that the teacher that you would want to have if you were in 7th grade? Be that teacher that you wanted in that classroom. So overall, we have kind of put things together. Hopefully these resources help. But I encourage you to start exploring these lessons. You might not know what exactly you're teaching, but use these other reference. And I am here to help in any way, even as the semester ends. You have my email. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.